Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be discussing Moby Dick, or The Whale by Herman Melville, but particularly in this gorgeous Easton Press edition. I mean, just look at that. What a beauty. And you have more waves in the back. And all throughout you have either just engravings like that, or you'll have panels, beautiful color panels, like this one. And this is my second time through Moby Dick. My first time reading it in this. You always feel like you're riding in a luxury car when you read a leather-bound book, and that's part of the experience as well. But it's with such a wonderful text. As I say, this is my second time through Moby Dick, and yes, it's long. And this edition, it's just over 600 pages, and I think you're even going to find that to be the case in most paperback editions. So it's not a short read by any means. Is it the great American novel? I think it's certainly one of the great American novels. I don't know that I necessarily buy into the idea of the great American novel, but a great American novel, I'm very happy to say that it is. And it copies one of the techniques that you'll see in Notre Dame, as it's known in French, or The Hunchback of Notre Dame, as it's known in English, in which Hugo moves between nonfiction context of Notre Dame itself, talking about how it's built, to his narrative. And that's what happens here. In a sense, or The Whale, the book is a case study of whales, cetology, whaling itself. You get really deep into the life of sailors, the different types of whales there are, how whales are harvested, how their oil was taken, the value of that oil. You get throughout the text these non-fiction digressions in which you're taken deeper into the subject. And that's not usual. You're not going to find many many novels that do this, that interchangeably move and very much interact with the reader in that way. Dear reader, do you know this? Do you know this? In addition to those nonfiction asides, you have a lot of vignettes in which a particular character is taken and given a particular storyline. And when I say storyline, we're talking about 8-9 pages at the most, 2 or 3 pages sometimes. But we're filling out this larger canvas. So if the nonfiction is the canvas that situates us, okay, we're talking about whales, whaling, we're in the ocean, we're in the water, understand that. Then it's populated by these different characters, these minor characters, and then we get into our major characters, Ahab, Starbuck, Call Me Ishmael, our main character. And Ishmael's with us from beginning to the end, and I won't spoil the ending. Obviously, there is some climax with the whale and Ahab. But this time, because I knew the story and I had known my own impressions of the text, I think I enjoyed it more. I think last time I was reading with an awareness of, oh, this is a work of great literature, and I wouldn't use the term intimidated, but I was very aware of doing that. I thought, okay, I'm reading Moby Dick. It's like a brand name, you could say. But, and I still enjoyed it. So I'm not saying you can't do that. But I think coming back to the text the second time, I was really relaxed, and I enjoyed it even more. The storytelling, the wording, the nomenology, the way that the text plays with Old Testament characters and names. And I'm just gonna read you the beginning because it's one of the most famous texts in literature to give you a sense of Melville's style and writing and the tone that he's going to create early on. So this is the very first paragraph of the text. Call me Ishmael, some years ago, never mind how long precisely, having little or no money in my purse, and nothing particular to interest me on shore, I thought I would sail about a little and see the watery part of the world. It is a way I have of driving off the spleen and regulating the circulation. Whenever I find myself growing grim about the mouth, whenever it is a damp, drizzly November in my soul, whenever I find myself involuntarily pausing before coffin warehouses and bringing up the rear of every funeral I meet, and especially whenever my hypos get such an upper hand of me that it requires a strong moral principle to prevent me from deliberately stepping into the street and methodically knocking people's hats off, then I account it high time to get to sea as soon as I can. This is my substitute for pistol and ball. With a philosophical flourish, Cato throws himself upon his sword. I quietly take to the ship. There is nothing surprising in this. If they but knew it, almost all men in their degree, some time or other, cherish very nearly the same feelings towards the ocean with me. I mean, wow. But there, right in the beginning of the text, we get a real sense of what this is going to be about. Right in that opening paragraph. This man who is particular and solitary and goes to the ocean as a cure for his ills. He's drawn to it, almost magnetically. And what this means, if this man is drawn to it, there's probably an entire group of people. Yes, this group of sailors, and I think we don't think about this. We think about how much our globalized world uses cargo ships to help it run. Yet there are still this same sort of character. The person who wrote this Ishmael character is still very much in our lives via the merchant marine, the people who are out there on these boats. The boats are very modern. Certainly, those people get paid a lot more money than these sailors used to get paid. But it's still the same sort of person, this person who goes to the sea for consolation, a person who doesn't live an ordinary life with, let's say, a wife and family and white picket fence and settled friends and barbecues and ball games, as our characters put it in Heat. But this damp November in my soul, this drizzly feeling that he has, is going to also be with us through the text, that there is a feeling of melancholy. In the case of Ahab, his melancholy is going to be stanched by this whale that he's chasing. And at the heart of the text, for me at least, is this question of the indifference of nature. Ahab assumes, believes, is convicted in his soul that Moby Dick, the white whale, has sentience and has deliberately attacked him. And there's a famous line in the text. He says, I would strike at the sun if it had insulted me. Something along the lines. Ahab says, Ahab will not bear an insult. So be it from the sun or be it from a whale, he will not, and he's going to chase this whale to the ends of the earth. So part of that is this obsessive compulsion relating to not accepting that nature is indifferent. The whale doesn't care about you. Or does it? And I think that's where we as readers can share the questions and doubts of the men as they start to question this narrative as well. Like, well, is it the indifference of nature, or does this beast have an agenda? And is it not justified in striking out against these humans that are harvesting its brethren? I think that's a wonderful thing to contemplate. It's certainly fascinating when we don't whale as much as we used to, not only because we found substitutes for what whale oil used to provide for us, but we've so depleted the number of whales in the world that there's not many that we could have anymore. So even if we wanted to hunt whales, we couldn't hunt as many. It's mostly illegal these days. In any case, it's a great work of literature. If you can get your hands on an Easton Press edition, do treat yourself. Maybe you'll need to read an inexpensive paperback from your library first before you commit to this. But if you do already have it, if you have already read it, consider getting an Easton Press book. I don't think I'll be able to link to the Easton Press because I don't think it's sold. I think you can only get it used. So I'll just provide a link to a version of Moby Dick in the description below, as well as a link to my Patreon if you'd like to support my work. If you want me to do more reviews like this, please support my work. And if you don't want to buy the book and you don't want to support my Patreon, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel to see more reviews like this, as well as sharing this video with any of your friends who you think might enjoy this review of Moby Dick and this gentle push in the direction of the library or the bookstore for you to read this yourself. Enjoy this great work of American literature. Until next time, enjoy your reading.